Forgive me if I may sound or look different right now, but my sinuses are kicking my butt. We're going to still get this video out. Let's get started. Now, this is a Senate floor battle between Senator Lindsey Graham and Senator Christian Sinema of Arizona. They're going to go back and forth over the Ukraine bill and the border bill, and I think they may talk about Israel also. It's Senator Lindsey Graham's turn on the floor, but Christian Sinema is trying to interject with questions.
So let's sort of a little overview of where we're at here.
He understands that Ukraine is a hot topic and is a very important issue, and he's read the polls. He knows that he should show some support for Ukraine. Being that it's an election year, Senator Lindsey Graham starts out trying to tell everybody how right he was in the past and why he should be reelected for the future. And he reads on the floor his statement that he made about pulling out of Iraq in 2011.
I respectfully disagree with President Obama. I feel all we have worked for, fought for, sacrificed for, is very much in jeopardy by today's announcement.
So I was right about Iraq, right? So vote for more in 24. He also does the same thing about Joe Biden and pulling out of Afghanistan.
I've got a statement here I'll put in the record. I was very clear that if we get out of Afghanistan, pull all the troops, that there will be a reemergence of Al-Qaeda and ISIS.
So I was right in 11 and I was right when Biden did it. So I'm saying it now before, just in case. It's a curveball. Just in case something goes wrong in Ukraine, I got my statement on the floor saying, hey, I tried to tell you. And even though a lot of Republicans don't believe that we should be in Ukraine, he says this anyway.
A lot of Republicans agree with those two things. To my Republican colleagues, if we pull the plug on Ukraine, it's going to be worse than Afghanistan.
Here's a little bonus for you. He mentioned how the Taliban has taken over Afghanistan.
I know it was a long slog and people wanted out, but the Taliban took over within weeks, and the Taliban being in charge of Afghanistan led to other people in the world thinking, hey, America's weak, now's the time to pounce.
Was it not Trump that negotiated with the Taliban to take over Afghanistan? But let's move on. Okay, campaign slogans out of the way. Let's get to the actual reason why we're here today.
My point is I want to help Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan. I really do. I think it's in our national security interest to do all the above. But I've also said I want to help other countries, but we got to help our country first. We tried to sit down in a bipartisan way. Senator Murphy, Sinema, Langford, and others sat down to come up with a bipartisan proposal that I thought did a pretty good job in many ways. However, having said that, I didn't think it was enough. I was hoping to be able to build on what they did, but here's where we're at.
He was hoping to build on what they did. Senator Sinema knows that's bullcrap, so she calls him out on it, or she wants to ask a question.
Would the senator yield to a question?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Senator, I was just listening carefully to your speech, and you mentioned that you thought the bill that we had drafted and introduced yesterday was a good start, but not enough. I'm wondering if you would remind us how you voted yesterday on the motion to proceed to the bill that had the border package that we worked on together.
Right now, the bill is trying to be sent to the Senate floor, and you have to vote on a motion to proceed, which means the bill as it stands right now in committee has been voted out of committee and been ready to be voted on the Senate floor. The motion to proceed simply means we're going to vote to try to add amendments to whatever they did in the committee.
I voted no because I didn't see a process in place or willingness by my Democratic colleagues to allow me to express I think it could be better.
That's bullcrap, because that's not the way it works. The way it works is the way they wrote it in the committee, and it passes out of the committee. And Democrats own the committee, so it's gonna get passed. But it was a bipartisan bill, so Republicans and Democrats were on it. Once it gets to the floor, that's when you start negotiating on putting in and taking out amendments. He voted not to proceed, meaning it's not going to go up for amendments. So what he just said right there was bogus. Here he is explaining why he is saying something bogus and talks about going back to 2013 when something was put on the floor and amendments was going on. Senator Sinema knows this and tries to call him out, but he reclaims his time.
We let the bill come to the floor, people amend it, and we spent days and weeks. So that's why I voted no, because I reclaim my time.
colleagues, would you address
I'm
your
reclaiming my
comments
time.
to me?
So
He knew the procedure, but he didn't want it to go to the Senate floor because amendments had to be argued on the floor, and it's recorded. So you'll get to hear these guys talk about their amendments, and those are good campaign videos. He don't want that, so he voted no to proceed, so we don't get that. He's mad now because he knows she knows and won't let her get in.
this has been a half-ass effort to deal with border security. To the people in the House, no, I'm speaking, you can speak later.
And they do this back and forth where she tries to get in and it pisses him off and he gets more and more angry and he gets more and more frustrated.
And you may give me a few amendments on Ukraine about the border. That's not the way it works around here. So
to a question?
No. The reason I voted no is I didn't see any willingness by anybody to allow an amendment process where we could deal with the border issue. I'm getting an amendment on the Ukraine bill about border.
To a question?
That's asked backwards.
He talks for a couple of minutes and he finally gets fed up and lets her ask a question. And all he talked about, she cared about none of that. All she wanted to know was what about the procedure to allow amendments? Why did you vote no to allow amendments?
A debate on the border.
To a question.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, Senator Graham, I know you've been here quite a bit longer than me, but it is my understanding that in order to get to the portion of a bill where we offer amendments on the floor, we first have to pass the motion to proceed. Yeah. And it is also my understanding that it was offered by leadership and the three sponsors of the border bill, which your team gratefully helped us create, that we would have an open amendment process. So could you help me understand why you voted against the motion to proceed
I'll be glad
before we were able to offer any amendments, including your amendment?
Now comes the conspiracy. Democrats are up to something nefarious.
Yes, I think the fix is in. I think people on our side and your side wanted to do the border thing as quick as they could so we could get to Ukraine. And I don't trust the system here to be able to allow us to have the debate that we had for the Gang of 8 bill. That's why I voted no, because I didn't see any willingness, and it proved to be correct, because now the Republican leadership has joined with the Democratic leadership to shut down debate on the border bill, throwing a few amendments on the Ukraine bill and saying, aren't you happy now? No, I am not happy.
And he proceeds to go on a very, very long rant talking about, and I cut it for time, but he talked about a lot of stuff and how he thought that the fix was in, how now that we can no longer get the border bill done, the Democrats decide, okay, you guys won't fix the border, let's do Ukraine. Now, the Democrats got another trick up their sleeves, too. They said, okay, we know you just killed the border bill. Let's watch you kill Ukraine so that people can see that you guys are not for anything. And so he's very upset about that. So he goes into a long tirade.
We shut this thing down. Unlike any other time I've been involved in immigration, I've taken a lot of hard votes. You've taken a lot of hard, you've been kicked around. I understand it. Senator Langford, I admire the hell out of him. I thought y'all produced a pretty good product, a really good product in some areas, but it wasn't enough. The reason I voted no to proceed is exactly been reaffirmed here. We stopped the process. We're jumping to Ukraine. We're going to do it this weekend, and it's going nowhere in the House. I'd like to have an amendment on whether or not we should cap parole at $10,000 per year, but I'm getting that on the Ukraine bill. So to my colleague from Arizona, no, no, no. You who want to help Ukraine, you've made it harder. We're going to lose a handful of Republican votes over here because they felt they were shut out in the debate about how to secure the border. We're going to lose votes over here. You don't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting it through the House because we took the border issue and we didn't address it the way it should have been. We closed it out. I could see the game being fixed. I am here as a proud supporter of Ukraine, telling you that you've hurt the cause of Ukraine by trying to shortchange a debate on the border. Your product was good, but I want to make it better.
And throughout this long tirade, she kept trying to interject.
Would the senator yield to a question?
To those of
Would the senator yield to a question?
No, please. There are people
to a
who are going to
question?
vote no to Ukraine. I
Senator,
never
yield to
believed
a
that.
question?
So the bottom.
The reason why she did that, she didn't care about what he was saying because none of that mattered. The only thing that mattered was the question that she wanted to ask him.
Would the senator yield to a question?
Sure.
Thank you. Senator, are you aware that the only way to offer amendments on a bill being considered in the United States Senate is to first pass the motion to invoke cloture on the motion to proceed? The vote that we took yesterday at 1:59 p.m.
He hesitated, but he answered her like this.
Right. Are you aware of
Yes.
the fact that people routinely vote not to proceed until they get some kind of understanding of what's coming next? And here, not one effort to sit down and talk to the 41 of us. What would you like to change your vote? The fix is in.
That, again, is BS because there were 3 people that worked on that bill, and they were Republicans and Democrats. The Republicans chose the senator that will work with them and said, hey, we give you carte blanche to go in and negotiate with the Democrats. So whatever he negotiated, they were going to agree to. What he's saying now is, wait, after you got with him, you didn't come to the other 41 of the Republicans to say, hey, how can we make it better so we can get past procedure? That was a lie, sir. That was a lie. You asked that man to go, and he threw his name and Republican reputation on the line for the Senate Republicans. And you beat him up when the deal was done because Donald Trump told you not to pass it. So you're using this excuse. You're using a procedural excuse to get out of the border bill. And you're going to use that same excuse to get out of the Ukraine bill. You thought you were slick. MAGA is too stupid to understand what you did, and they're going to praise you for killing the border bill and the Ukraine bill. And Democrats are not paying attention because you got the 18 to 55 that are getting ready to watch the Super Bowl. You got the 18 to 35 that are more concerned about Taylor Swift. And you got all of the Democrats are mostly concerned about whether or not Joe Biden is old enough to serve as president. But I'm listening, and you are full of crap. What do you think?